Have you ever experienced the deep, unsettling pain of lost love and wondered why it hurts so much? Even when time moves on, do you feel like something inside you is shifting, but you're not sure what that change means for you? If you've ever wondered how love, loss, and suffering can be more than just painful experiences, but a pathway to personal transformation, then this video is for you. In today's video, we'll explore the powerful insights Jung shared about the hidden potential within loss and suffering. We'll discuss how love's absence is not just a void to endure, but an opportunity to uncover a deeper truth about who we are. You'll discover how pain, when faced with courage, can catalyze healing, growth, and emotional resilience. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to navigate these challenging experiences with greater awareness and strength. Whether you're struggling with heartbreak, grief, or simply the longing for something more, this video will give you the tools and wisdom you need to transform your pain into something meaningful. Stick with us to the end to uncover the hidden power of love's absence and how it can lead you to a stronger, more authentic version of yourself. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. There are moments in life when we are inexplicably drawn to someone, an undeniable force pulling us toward them, as though the universe itself has set this course in motion. We recognize this person deeply, as if our very soul remembers them, even though we have not yet crossed paths. The connection is intense, visceral, and unexplainable. Yet, for reasons that are often beyond our comprehension, something always seems to block it from flourishing. Barriers rise before us, timing falters, and space grows between us. It's as though an invisible force stands between us and the love we so desperately crave. The more we try to approach it, the further it slips away. And in these moments, there's this deep sense of yearning, a deep ache that seems to cry out in defiance, asking why we can't just reach out and hold what feels destined for us. Jung, with his infinite understanding of the unconscious, didn't believe in coincidences. He saw them, instead, as messages from the hidden layers of our psyche. He understood that what unfolds in our external reality is often a reflection of the movements inside us, hidden forces we may not even be aware of. When a love is repeatedly thwarted, when doors keep closing with almost a mystical precision, it's not a matter of fate, just happening to get it wrong. No, this is something deeper. It's a pattern, a recurring theme in our lives, and we must never dismiss patterns as mere chance. These patterns are there for a reason. They reveal something about us, something we are meant to learn, whether we are ready to see it or not. And so the real question is not, why is this happening to me? But rather, what is this experience revealing about who I am, what I need, and what I must face? This, I believe, is where the profound concept of synchronicity comes into play. Jung suggested that certain events are not just random occurrences, they're signs of an underlying order in the universe, a deeper flow of life that exists beyond our awareness. When a love slips through our fingers, but we find ourselves constantly surrounded by reminders of it, it's easy to think that life is cruel or that our destiny is broken. But what if it isn't an obstacle after all? What if it's a message from the universe itself? Perhaps the universe is trying to tell us something that our hearts are not yet ready to hear, or that our mind refuses to see. Maybe this lost love is not a failure, but a step in a much larger journey that we have yet to fully understand. The mind, in its quest to make sense of things, searches for logical answers. When love is denied, it begs the question, was it poor timing? A mistake made by us or the other person? A lesson we were meant to learn? But here's the painful truth. Some endings don't come with clarity. They don't wrap themselves up neatly with a pretty bow. Instead, they linger in our hearts like an unresolved melody present but not fully realized, as though the story is only partially told. These endings don't disappear. They echo through our lives, not just in fleeting memories, but in something deeper, something more palpable, a strange sense of presence that refuses to fade, a pattern that keeps coming back, like a forgotten song that replays in your mind, even years later. Jung referred to this as synchronicity, the universe's mysterious way of aligning external events with our internal emotional landscapes in a way that defies logical explanation. Unlike ordinary coincidences, synchronicities are far more profound. They come with weight, with meaning, and often with a precise timing that seems too uncanny to ignore. When a love is lost, but it continues to haunt us, not just in our thoughts, but in the very fabric of our lives, the question becomes, what is this? Is it a sign that the love is still present, still alive, or is it something much deeper? Maybe this love isn't asking to come back. Maybe it's not about rekindling something old, but about understanding something unfinished within ourselves. Jung believed that the unconscious speaks to us in symbols, not in words, and these symbols are never random. They carry meaning, they seek to be recognized, and they demand to be understood. So when a love that was denied keeps resurfacing in unexpected ways, whether through dreams that bring back forgotten details, numbers that repeatedly show up at the most random times, or even a letter written but never sent, it's not mere coincidence. These symbols, these events, may appear subtle at first, but they carry a weight that cannot be dismissed. It's almost as if the universe itself is nudging us, asking us to pay attention, to stop and listen, to recognize that these moments are not accidental. They are the whispers of the soul trying to guide us through something we've overlooked or been unwilling to face. But, as with all things that challenge us, some people will ignore these signs. They'll brush them off as mere tricks of the mind, nothing more than random occurrences with no deeper meaning. Others may feel ensnared by them, convinced that these signs are urging them to relive the past, to reignite the lost love. But I've come to realize that synchronicity is neither a promise nor a command. It doesn't demand action. It demands awareness. The unconscious is always speaking, always trying to get our attention, but very few of us are listening. Even fewer understand that these signs are not about the other person. No, they're about us, about what's unresolved within us, about the lessons we need to learn, and the growth we are being urged to experience. To ignore these signs is to miss an opportunity for personal transformation. The psyche doesn't waste its energy sending us the same messages over and over without purpose. If certain memories or experiences persistently return to us, if they come back like waves crashing against the shore, again and again, they're not pulling us backward. They're pushing us forward. They're pushing us toward deeper understanding, toward integrating the pieces of ourselves that we've been unwilling to confront. We might resist them at first, thinking that pushing them away will make them go away. But they won't. The more we resist them, the louder they become. There are moments in life, I believe, when the universe seems to demand that we wake up. It speaks to us not in words, but in the form of events that challenge our understanding. The question is not whether these signs matter, it's whether we're willing to recognize them, to look deeper, and ask ourselves, what is this truly telling me about myself? The presence of synchronicity during moments of loss suggests that something far greater is at play, something far beyond what we can see with our eyes or understand with our minds. If these patterns aren't random, then what is guiding them? What force is behind them? Jung believed that beneath the fleeting desires of the ego, the things we think we want, the comfort and satisfaction we crave, there is a deeper force at work, the self. The self, he argued, is concerned with wholeness, not just fleeting happiness. It doesn't care about short-term desires. Instead, it leads us on a path toward growth and integration, one that often requires detours, obstacles, and even heartbreak along the way. And maybe, just maybe, this is the path we are on now. Perhaps the love we thought we lost was never really lost at all. It was just a part of the journey, a piece of a much larger picture we have yet to fully understand. The experience of love being denied is not just about the loss of another person. It is a profound, heart-wrenching reflection of a deeper misalignment between what we consciously desire and what we unconsciously need. Sometimes, love arrives like a flash of revelation, transforming everything it touches. It stirs something deep within us, awakening emotions that have long been dormant, buried beneath layers of life's complexities. But, as quickly as it comes, it slips away, often without warning. This loss feels unjust, almost like a cruel joke, as if something essential was taken from us before it had the chance to fully bloom and unfold. It's a sharp sting, a feeling that something beautiful was denied its chance to flourish, and we are left to wonder why it was taken too soon. However, in the wisdom of the self, there is no taking without purpose. When love is denied, despite how deep it feels, it often happens because it would ultimately divert us from the path we most need to take for our individuation. Individuation, a word that carries so much weight, is the process of becoming who we are meant to be, and it is often in the moments of love's absence that we are forced to confront ourselves in ways we might never have imagined. There is a part of us beneath the confusion and the raw ache that can see beyond the temporary pain, that understands the deeper purpose behind this loss. The self does not reject love simply for the sake of rejecting it. It redirects us. What feels like loss might be our greatest protection. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but sometimes the love we think we want is not the love we need. On the surface, it may seem perfect, everything we've been searching for. But deep down, there is something the soul knows that the mind does not. This love might pull us away from what is most necessary for our personal growth. The conscious mind reaches out, grasping for meaning, trying desperately to understand. But the self, the truest part of us, speaks in a language that transcends logic. It doesn't offer explanations, it offers movement. It shapes our circumstances, subtly guiding us, making us feel the pain of absence until, one day, the clarity of its purpose becomes undeniable. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. This guidance, however, is not easy to follow. The ego fights against it, of course. It insists that what we desire is right, that we must push forward, overcome the barriers, and find a way to make things work. But when the same doors keep closing, when a relationship, no matter how much effort we pour into it, just can't seem to hold together, it's a sign that something deeper is at play. The self doesn't ask for permission to intervene. It moves in alignment with something greater, something more purposeful, even if that movement feels like loss. The process of individuation, as painful as it may be, requires that we embrace the discomfort and the void. For it is in these spaces that true transformation occurs. A love that is repeatedly denied is not just a random event in our lives, it is a reflection of the internal architecture of our psyche, a manifestation of the tension between longing and personal evolution. When the self says no, it is not out of cruelty, it is an act of divine direction, guiding us toward a path we cannot yet comprehend. The question isn't whether the self is speaking, it is whether we are willing to listen. The absence of love, though silent, shifts everything within us. It leaves no room for preparation. It arrives without warning, and before we can even form defenses, it alters our reality forever. One moment, love fills every corner of our world, coloring everything with warmth and belonging. Then, it disappears, leaving behind a quiet, persistent emptiness that seems impossible to fill. Nothing in the external world has changed, but within, everything feels different, disorienting, incomplete, as if a part of our very soul has been torn away. And yet, in the quiet aftermath of this absence, something remarkable happens. Jung spoke of this process as individuation, the path to becoming whole. It does not begin when everything is comfortable or perfectly aligned. It begins in the very moment that we are faced with the absence of what we once thought was everything. In the profound wisdom of the self, absence is not a punishment, but an invitation to grow beyond the confines of the familiar. At first, it feels impossible to accept, like an open wound that refuses to heal. The mind is frantic, grasping for explanations, for resolution, for any way to undo what has been done. Memories, uninvited, rush to the surface, each one a sharp reminder of what was lost. Places that once brought joy now sting with the painful absence of what used to be. Well-meaning friends offer comfort, but their words can never reach the parts of us that remain untouched, unresolved, and aching. Externally, life marches on routine, continues, people keep moving, and the world doesn't stop. But internally, something resists moving forward. The self refuses to be dragged along by the pace of life, unwilling to let go of the profound truth, waiting to be discovered in the silence. It is precisely within this internal pause that individuation finds its strength. What once was connection now feels like solitude, and in that solitude, parts of the self hidden beneath the layers of a relationship begin to surface. Fears that once felt softened by love are now sharp and undeniable. Patterns of behavior, once excused by companionship, now stand exposed, demanding attention, recognition, and ultimately transformation. The person we once were within the confines of love begins to shed their old skin, raw and vulnerable, but alive in an authentic way. It would be so much easier to fill the silence, to quickly move toward another love, another distraction, anything to soften the discomfort. But individuation cannot unfold in distraction. It demands us to face the emptiness head-on. It asks for patience, honesty, and deep self-reflection. Each moment spent alone with the absence reveals another layer of the self-parts of us that had been overlooked, forgotten, or buried beneath the weight of love's shadow. Slowly, what begins as a suffocating emptiness starts to shift. It becomes clear that what we once perceived as loss was, in truth, an invitation to reconnect with ourselves in a way that love alone could never have allowed. Individuation is not about erasing love from memory. It is about discovering who we are beyond it. Love denied is not merely something taken away. It is an opportunity to reclaim a depth of self-knowledge that could never have been unlocked while in the comfort of another. The path through absence is not for the faint of heart. It requires a willingness to stay open, even when everything in us wants to shut down. The loss of love feels like an accusation that something about us wasn't enough, that we failed in some way. However, individuation shifts this perspective entirely. The absence does not reflect our inadequacy. It highlights parts of us that are calling for attention, growth, and transformation. It turns our gaze inward, away from external validation, and toward the truest expression of our internal truth. It is in this space that we begin to rebuild, not from the ruins of what we lost, but from the deepest, most authentic parts of who we truly are. This process of transformation does not erase the aching void left behind by lost love. It doesn't promise clarity at the onset, no. It only offers meaning, deep, profound meaning. Love, once thought of as something to be won or lost, is revealed not as a possession, but as a mirror, a reflection of our inner world. In this powerful reshaping, the absence of love takes on a role far greater than we could imagine. It becomes a teacher. The solitude that we first resist, grasping for anything to fill the silence, eventually morphs into something sacred, something necessary. We begin to understand that this emptiness isn't something to fear or fight against. It is the birthplace of insight. In this silence, the seeds of self-awareness begin to take root, and in the space left by loss, we start to find the presence of something far more important than another person, the presence of ourselves. For perhaps the first time, in the profound emptiness that follows the loss of love, Something shifts quietly, gently, but unmistakably. What once felt like an insurmountable, painful void begins to transform into something unexpected, a place of hidden potential. Jung, with his deep understanding of the psyche, saw this transformation. He spoke of it in terms of alchemy, the ancient art of transformation. To Jung, love wasn't just an emotional connection, it was a force with the power to profoundly alter the very core of who we are. When love fades, what's left is not a mere absence, but an opportunity. An invisible fire ignites within us, burning away the layers that no longer serve us, leaving room for something purer to emerge. Alchemy teaches that transformation happens through fire, through the intense breaking down of impurities to uncover something much more precious. So too does the loss of love feel like a fire, uncomfortable, consuming, and often unbearable. The flames burn, not just through memories, not just through attachments, but through layers of our identity that once felt secure. Every moment spent longing, every breath drawn in aching solitude, reveals another layer of our being, each ready to be let go of. At first, it's too much to bear. The flames are harsh and relentless. What once brought warmth and security now only adds to the weight of discomfort. We seek escape, desperate to soothe the burning within. Distraction becomes an overwhelming temptation. The prospect of new relationships, new loves, even new distractions, anything to escape the intense inner fire appears as a solution. But just as the alchemist's fire resists being extinguished, so too does this internal transformation. The flames persist, demanding to be acknowledged, to be allowed to burn, for they serve a purpose far beyond what we can initially comprehend. What we first perceive as destruction gradually becomes purification. Through loss, the soul confronts the illusions it once held dear, the false beliefs about love, about who we should be in relationships, about what happiness truly is. These illusions begin to crumble, piece by piece, leaving behind the raw truths of our hearts, truths we may have ignored or overlooked in the past. The emotional fire exposes hidden motives, buried wounds, those unhealed parts of ourselves that we longed to keep hidden. But this fire is not for punishment. It is for healing. It is a delicate, slow process, one that requires patience, one demands courage. And much like the alchemists of old, we must have the strength to endure it. Navigating love's absence is not about fleeing the pain, but about staying present with it, about allowing the discomfort to move through us rather than escape it. Pain becomes our teacher. It becomes the instrument that brings awareness to parts of ourselves that couldn't have emerged in the comfort of a relationship. The fire's intensity strips away the superficial, the fleeting desires, and forces us to face what truly matters. It clarifies what's important, showing us what we held on to out of habit, out of fear, and what nourishes the soul. As the flames subside, clarity begins to take form. The soul begins to recognize qualities that were always there, qualities like strength, resilience, and authenticity, qualities that were hidden beneath the layers of dependency, the false needs we had built around our attachments. These qualities, born directly from the ashes of loss, now rise in quiet strength. What once seemed like the ultimate destruction becomes the ultimate transformation. But the fire does not burn endlessly, it transforms. The heart, over time, learns to embrace solitude not as a sign of lack, but as an opportunity for growth. Alchemy does not promise quick fixes or comfort. It does not offer immediate relief from the pain. Instead, it teaches us the value of staying present, of allowing discomfort to have its place, and of finding meaning within it. Love, when it is lost, becomes a catalyst for deeper self-awareness. It reveals itself as both a mirror and a spark, a force that reflects the hidden parts of our psyche and ignites the strength needed to face them. The absence of love no longer feels like mere loss. It becomes an invitation into a deeper, more authentic relationship, not with another person, but with the parts of ourselves that we've long neglected. Transformation through loss does not come without a trace. The absence of love reshapes everything. What was once warmth becomes a cold emptiness. What was once certain now feels distant, untouchable. But Jung, with his profound insight, understood that suffering is not something to be avoided or simply endured. It is a force that has the power to break apart the illusions we've built and open doors to something far greater. Suffering, when faced with openness and courage, becomes a threshold for transcendence, for growth. It does not immediately offer answers. It does not explain itself in terms we can easily grasp. Instead, it lingers, demanding our attention, requiring us to feel it fully before it can transform into something new. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. The weight of memories can be heavy, their influence pulling the past into the present in ways that feel impossible to control. A scent, a familiar phrase, a shadow in the wrong place, each one can reopen wounds that we thought had begun to heal. But suffering is not the enemy. It does not come to destroy us. It comes to reveal what has remained unresolved, to force us to confront what we have avoided. There comes a time when suffering no longer feels like something happening to us. It feels like something happening within us. The pain shifts. It is no longer about another person, nor about what was lost. It becomes about the self, about the wounds that pre-existed love, about the fears that love once soothed but never truly healed. Suffering forces us to face what was always there, waiting quietly beneath the surface. It's in this space of confrontation, in the heart of this pain, that true healing begins. Jung viewed suffering not as an enemy to be avoided, but as an inherent part of the transformation process, a necessary force that strips away the false layers we've built around ourselves. It doesn't erase love or demand us to forget it. Instead, it calls for something deeper, a willingness to look beyond the surface, to face what has been hidden beneath our longings and desires. The mind naturally resists suffering, seeking escape, but when we choose to face it head-on, we discover that suffering doesn't lead to destruction, it leads to transcendence. There exists a delicate threshold between loss and understanding, a space where suffering stops being an enemy and becomes an ally in our growth. In that space, suffering no longer holds power over us. It no longer defines who we are. Instead, it reveals what remains once the unnecessary has been burned away, leaving only the essence of who we truly are. Suffering doesn't vanish the moment we understand its purpose, though. It lingers. It reshapes our thoughts and feelings, pulling our hearts toward places we once ignored or dismissed. What seemed unfair, cruel even, starts to reveal its underlying patterns. And with those patterns comes an awakening, a realization that there is a force at work beneath the surface of our lives, shaping our experiences in ways that our conscious minds may never fully understand. This force, as Jung saw it, is not one of our own making. It is not driven by personal will or immediate desires. It moves through us like an unseen current, guiding us along a path that is often at odds with what we think we want. The soul has its rhythm, and when that rhythm clashes with the desires of the world, tension arises. There are moments in life when everything seems perfectly aligned for love, the stars align. The connection feels undeniable, and yet, despite all efforts, things unravel. Two lives meet, and the spark between them is undeniable, but instead of merging, they are pulled apart. The mind fights this outcome, believing that if something is deeply felt, it must be pursued. But the soul, unlike the mind, does not move according to urgency or emotion. It follows a rhythm beyond the comprehension of the ego. A love that is denied or a relationship that fails to fully unfold is often mistaken for misfortune, a tragedy that must be avoided at all costs. But what if, instead of being a failure, it is an act of precision, a step in the right direction that is simply not meant to complete itself in the way we expect? Some relationships are not meant to reach their full potential. They are not failures. They are markers along the way, shaping the journey without becoming the final destination. The loss of love is never meaningless. It redirects our forces, pushes us into deep reflection, and leaves behind a question that cannot be answered by logic alone. The resistance we feel when love is blocked is real and intense. The more something is denied, the more we insist that it must be fought for. The heart demands that we persist, that we conquer, but the soul is not concerned with conquest. It is not driven by the need to possess or control love. The soul is guided by something deeper, something that doesn't always align with the immediate desires of the world. What the world takes away is often what the soul never needed to keep. A love that fades despite every effort, no matter how deeply felt, simply isn't necessary anymore. It has already fulfilled its purpose. The tension between what we want and what we get is not a mistake. It is the evidence of something greater at work, something that does not explain itself but asks us to trust it. The universe doesn't deny love without reason. What appears to be loss, rejection, or cruel misalignment often carries meaning that only time will reveal. Jung knew that life is not random. It moves in patterns that are far beyond our understanding, and each experience, whether it's one of joy or pain, serves to shape us in ways we can't always see in the moment. When love is repeatedly blocked, when all efforts to hold it together fail, the answer is already given. It is not meant to remain. Some separations feel unnatural, as though something vital was taken away before it had the chance to fully unfold. The heart refuses to accept it, holding on to the belief that real love must persist. But what if the universe's refusal is not a punishment but a redirection? What if it's not an ending but a pivot towards something unseen, something better suited for the journey we are on? The mind resists, grasping for explanations, for alternatives, trying to fit the pieces of the puzzle into a solution it can comprehend. But the soul, with its deep clarity, moves in a way that transcends logic. It does not take what is unnecessary. It only removes what no longer serves the path ahead. And so, there comes a moment when the struggle dissolves, not because the longing disappears, but because it no longer defines who we are. The love that was lost, the person left behind, the relationship that never fully blossomed, they no longer hold the same weight. The absence, though it remains, starts to shift, to take on a new shape. What once felt like an insurmountable void slowly transforms into something else, something unexpected, yet deeply meaningful. The loss does not vanish, but its purpose starts to unfold. And with that unfolding comes a new sense of clarity. Love denied, as painful as it may be, is never just about the other person or the relationship that never fully formed. It is an encounter with something much deeper. It is an encounter with the movement of the psyche, the precision of the unconscious, the quiet guidance of something beyond the personal will. Love, when it is truly meant to remain, doesn't need to be forced. It aligns with the natural rhythm of the universe. And when it doesn't, it teaches us to trust, teaches us to let go, and teaches us to recognize that not all loves are meant to last forever. Some are meant to shape us for a time, and when that time passes, they leave us with the gift of transformation. In this way, love's absence ceases to be merely a loss. It becomes a profound invitation, an invitation into a deeper relationship with ourselves, a relationship that can only exist once we have fully let go. As we reflect on the journey we've taken together today, it's clear that love, loss, and suffering are not just hurdles in life, they are powerful forces of transformation. Each moment of hardship has the potential to shape us, revealing truths we might never have discovered otherwise. The absence of love, while painful, can become an invitation to dive deeper into understanding ourselves, our paths, and our souls. Now, I want to hear from you. What have you learned so far from this journey through love and loss? What lesson or insight from today's video will you bring into your life and practice moving forward? Take a moment to reflect and share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found value in this video, Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more meaningful content. Your support helps us continue to bring these powerful conversations to you. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to reading your reflections.